let's talk about self-pity. So I had a guy move in the house. In fact, it was one of the very first guys that I had an experience with, one of the first guys to move into the house. And I made a joke about cracks. I don't know, jokingly something. And he said, hey, whoa, don't talk about crack around me, because my parents did crack and then they would do these horrible things. And I mean, it's sad. It's a horrible, vicious, nasty thing to go through. And at the time I said, oh yeah, sorry, didn't mean to offend, and here I am 6 months later, and I thought about it, especially after considering the circumstances and the experience with this particular guy. The dude was sociopathic, completely took advantage of the house, didn't pay a dime in rent. After 3 weeks, he ended up moving out, stole some stuff, didn't get along with anybody. I mean, they were just major, major issues. And, it even says in the big book, some are sicker than others. And so that means some of us are going to have experiences that we could deem as worse than someone else's. But the reality is that it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant how much more you think you suffered than somebody else. The reality is we all suffer. Everyone suffers from pain of loss and betrayal and hurt and abuse, and there's different levels of it. But if it helped you to look at it and feel sorry for yourself and deem yourself, as the book would call, terminally unique. I don't think that's in the big book, but it's a term I hear in the rooms quite a bit. You're not terminally unique. It doesn't help you to believe that you had it so much worse than everyone else, because what it does, it puts you in this self-ordained unique category of, you people can't relate to me, you can't understand, and you're going to get stuck. You're going to be stagnant in this this inability to grow and to progress, and it's ultimately going to be destructive to you and to everybody around you. So when you're in a Simplify home, or when you're walking in the world, stop feeling sorry for yourself. I know you're suffering. I'm suffering right now. I had to go to court all day yesterday, family court, deal with my ex-wife, who 2 years later, I'm still devastated by what she did and what happened and the nature of our whole relationship. I have to listen to forgiveness affirmations and get over your relationship affirmations. It's pathetic how deeply hurt I am by that whole thing. Had a beautiful, wonderful home and family destroyed, gone. My kids have suffered, I got to deal with that, and that's tip of the iceberg. You go back to my childhood, there were horrible things, abuse, neglect. I mean, it's never been easy, and everyone's got their sob story. But if I walked around and insisted, it's one thing to have healthy boundaries, and that's okay. But I can tell you this, I am not going to walk on eggshells because you insist on believing that you had it so much worse than anyone else, and that you indulge in self-pity. It's not going to happen, and nobody in a Simplify Sober Living home should walk on eggshells because you're this, you got it worse than everyone else person as well. So I hope that resonates. Healthy boundaries, stuff like this too. You need to talk about this. You need go bring this up with your sponsor. Get a counselor, because you are going to have serious, serious issues. If you are the victim of abuse in any sort, it could just be daddy worked too much and you didn't spend a lot of time with dad. You're going to have issues in your life as a result, and you got to talk this stuff through. You got to get with a counselor. You need to bring it up in the rooms. You need to bring it up with your sponsor as you're going through the steps. It needs to be addressed. I just don't want it. It's not that I want, but the reality is, it can't be a crutch for you. It can't be an excuse for destructive behavior. I certainly won't tolerate it. If I was to have somebody today say the same thing to me, hey man, don't talk about crack because I had a bad family experience, I'm going to tell them, go deal with that. Go address it, so that you can internalize it in a context where when people bring it up, you can kind of laugh it off. Somebody talks to me about I had a gay dad, or I was a foster kid. I'm not gonna say, hey, don't say foster kid around me. I was a foster kid. That's offensive. That's not an appropriate way for me to handle my past and to dump that onto other people. What I can do is if I hear a trigger word that reminds me of some of the horrible things I had to go through, I can in that moment be grateful that it isn't painful for me anymore, that I've become a stronger person as a result of the painful experiences, whether it was in my control or outside of my control. Do you see the difference? That's what I'm looking for. That's what's expected of you in this home. And if you're listening to this outside of my Sober Living homes, then it's good, valuable information for you as well. All right, thanks.